Welcome everyone to Macroeconomics exercise class session 2. In this video we would cover variables and parameters. So the first exercise or the first problem in the variables and parameters is problem number 4. The equilibrium condition for the domestic good market is given by y is equal to C0 plus C1 multiplied by y minus t plus investment plus government expenditure. Describe both sides of the equation. What is the meaning of each variable and parameter? So we would first look at the left-hand side of the equation, which was represented with a y, and it stands for supply of goods. The right-hand side of the equation had CO plus C1 multiplied by y minus t plus investment plus government expenditure, and this is the demand of goods, which is usually represented by Z. So in an economy, if the supply of goods is equal to the demand of goods, we say we reach an equilibrium on the goods market and income doesn't change anymore. Y represents yield, or Y is also income, so that's why it is represented by Y. So now we would look at each variables in our right-hand side equation. The first one is the C0, which is autonomous consumption. So the autonomous consumption is a consumption that doesn't actually depend on an income of an individual or an income of a household. If the income level is 0, or if you don't get any amount of income, you would for sure consume, because you would not survive if you don't consume. So why does CO exist, and how can we explain this kind of consumption? You can have a quick discussion on this, and you can try to figure out possible ways to explain this autonomous consumption. However, to explain this in this video, households must consume to secure their existence. So as I said, if somebody doesn't have any income, he has to eat, he has to drink, and he has to physically survive. So to secure their physical existence, households must consume, and this consumption is referred as autonomous consumption. So where do they get money to consume even if they don't have any income? So the households would have to start de-saving to consume what they had previously saved in the previous period. So how would they de-save in this regard? They would start selling assets. For example, if I have a car, I would start selling my car and I would start consuming the money I got from the sale of my car. The second item on the right-hand side equation given earlier is the marginal propensity to consume. What does CY, or the marginal propensity to consume, mean, and how can we explain it? The marginal propensity to consume states how strongly consumption will change if income changes by 1 unit. So if I was getting an income, and if my income changed by 1 unit, how would my consumption be impacted with this change of income? This value of C1 usually takes a value between 0 and 1. For example, you can consider marginal propensity to consume of 0.8. When you interpret 0.8, this is to say that if income increases by 1 unit, consumption would change by 0.8 unit. The remaining 0.2 unit will be saved. So my 1 minus C1 represents marginal propensity to save. If an individual is having certain amount of income, in the next month or in the next time period, if he is expecting an increase of income by 1 unit, then if his or her marginal propensity to consume is 0.8, he will consume this additional 0.8 euros or money amount of the additional income, and then he would save this 0.2 remaining amount of the income. The third item, or the next item in the right-hand side equation given earlier, is y minus t, or disposable income. We have seen this in the first exercise class, where we say disposable income is an income available for a household to be consumed, or after paying taxes, you would have certain amount of money, and that you would have to decide whether to consume it or to save it. So this income, this disposable income, is available to consumers or households after receiving government transfer and after they pay all the taxes that are due. There is an inverse relationship between tax and disposable income. If tax increases, then the income available to the households to be consumed would decrease. And if taxes decrease, then the income available in the form of disposable income to households would increase. The government usually uses the tax initiative to stimulate the economy. So if they want to increase consumption, they decrease taxes and they motivate the consumers or the households to consume more. Or if they want to block private consumption, then they levy a higher tax which would allow consumers to consume less. Here, YD represents disposable income, and we have seen that already. This is the difference between income and tax, and this is a positive function of consumption. So if your disposable income increases, then your consumption would increase. There is a positive relationship between consumption and disposable income. The next item on our list is tax, represented by T, or taxes. In our scenario, taxes do not depend on income, so we usually consider a lump sum tax. The next item on our right-hand side equation is investment. In our scenario, investment do not depend on interest rate because we don't have money or capital market yet. So these markets, the money or capital market, would be introduced in chapter 4 of the macroeconomics lecture slides. In chapter 5, investments would be dependent on the interest rate. The final item on our right-hand side equation is G, government expenditure. This is exogenously given, and the level of government expenditure will not be determined in the model. When we say exogenous, we are just clearly stating that this is not going to be determined in the model, but this is a pure decision of the government on how much should the government spend at a certain amount of time. As we have seen in the case of taxes, the government can stimulate or block private consumption by manipulating its government expenditure level. With this, I would wrap up the first part of session 2. Thank you for your attention. If you have questions, please do feel free to send us emails.